Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Selamat setengah hari. I am moderating a session just before lunch, so thank you to the organizers for sitting between you and your lunch. But hopefully we can have a very fun, light, informative conversation, and then we can continue having those conversations after lunch with some of the thought-provoking conversations that hopefully we can begin in this session. So it's an interesting session. We are talking about commercialization, which is where the rubber hits the road for any startup, for any business. It is probably the most important part. And in this panel today, we have leaders in each of their respective fields. It's a nice composition because we have two representatives from two national innovation agencies who's leading the charge on innovation from Bioeconomy and from MTDC. And then we have two representatives from companies who are in their commercialization journey, slightly different phases, but lots of takeaways for any aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience. And anyone else who's interested in the innovation journey. I'm not going to spend so much more time. I'll leave it to the panel members to each introduce themselves in terms of how they look at the commercialization journey, their own roles within their organizations, and where they see the commercialization learnings and important points, just sort of an introduction before we get into the nitty-gritties in terms of where things are.
Hello, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum, Salam Malaysia Madani. My name is Faizal. I'm from Bioeconomy Corporation. So we are the lead agency in Malaysia to realize the targets in the National Biotech Policy 2.0. We've been around for 20 years, and in these 20 years, we've gathered a lot of experience. We're still learning on how to best serve our biotech and bio-based companies, both in Malaysia and in their aspirations to go outside of Malaysia. So we are constantly evolving, creating new programs, new initiatives. We are very much in touch with the companies. So hopefully, through our assistance and our constant facilitation, we can help our companies to go overseas, as is within the aspirations of the National Biotech Policy. Just very quickly to share with you two aspirations in the policy. One is 30% of our companies go global, and then the other one is by 2030, our biotech and bio-based companies in Malaysia contribute to 5% of the national GDP. So this is what we're trying to do for the companies. And of course, we work together with other agencies as well, MTDC, for example. And I will pass it to Dr. Indra, the MTDC.
Thank you, Dr. Faizal. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Afternoon. It's already 12:30, right? For those who don't know, MTDC has been here for 33 years. We are one of the pioneers in technology ecosystem development and one of the pioneers to ensure that the growth of technology throughout the ecosystem is being done in the right way. Today, MTDC has evolved into one of the most successful agencies in bringing companies to IPO, for example. We have brought 17 companies to IPO, 6 companies for M&A, for an exit. And we have constantly created a conducive environment for technology companies to grow organically. This is through our consulting, advisory, fundraising, trainings, tech centers, as well as the whole ecosystem development of a technology. So we focus on 6 sectors, focus areas, and these 6 focus areas are in line with what the government is looking at for the next 3 to 5 years. Being the leader in our sectors and our verticals, we do contribute as much as we can to bring companies not just becoming a jago kampung or a local player, make them global players, globally recognized, because internationally what people are buying from you is your credibility and comfort that your system and your products are good, not just exporting and shipping your products outside. So all in all, this is what MTDC does, and probably the next two companies will be able to share what you do.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Shazrina from BioAngle Vets dan Berhad, which is we are bio and access company under bioeconomy, okay, which is we involve in animal healthcare. We are proudly been in the MTDC ecosystem, which is we have a first in Southeast Asian GMP facility to produce bacteria-based vaccine for animal healthcare. So I can say proudly say MTDC is a hub of animal healthcare in ASEAN because we are the first. So what objective that we did actually, we acquire patent from local university, and we support inventors and scientists to commercialize their own patent or their innovation, especially in animal healthcare, in supporting food security. Why? People will ask, why vaccine? Because vaccine is very, very important in the food security agenda. Without vaccine, you cannot prevent spread of disease. So what's special in our company? We focus not just a normal traditional vaccine, we focus on innovation vaccine. Like currently that we have two focus areas, which is ruminants and also aquaculture. For ruminant, we are the first innovation in the world by using a spray technology vaccine, while for aquaculture, we have also first invented in the world, which is feed-based vaccine, and both are invented by our local university, which is UPM. So I would like to invite all of you to come with VAV to commercialize your own products. Thank you.
There was an example of commercialization just right there in action. Dr. Suwen, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Suwen, the founder and CEO of OnCode. We are a BBA company under the Bioeconomy Corporation and also an investee company by MTDC. So we started OnCode slightly more than 10 years ago, so back in 2015. We've only a handful of people but we have a very, very strong dream. We have very, very powerful ambition that we want to make world-class molecular diagnostics accessible and available for people all around the world, right? So we hold on very strongly to our mission, which is to help physician, help patient. And we just started just like that, right? And today, we have evolved into a health deep tech company. So we have innovated, we have developed, and we have launched a whole series of products and services, like from molecular diagnostic testing to companion diagnostics, from supporting clinical trials to AI-empowered bioinformatics pipelines like Smart and Cubic, which are our flagship bioinformatics platforms. I would say all these years we have been growing steadily and progressively, reaching to where we are now. So for the past few years, we have expanded our market into Singapore, Hong Kong, and Indonesia, and we are actually currently expanding into other key Asian markets. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sorry, with Shazrina, could you just maybe just give a little bit of an overview in terms of where you are in terms of your commercialization and which markets are you planning to be getting into?
Okay, since we acquire patent, so when we acquire patent, we as a manufacturers, we need to sell it before we sell it, we need to settle the registration. So what we are staged now, as a manufacturer or commercialization agency, we have to go through at least 3 phases of trial, which is preclinical trial, clinical trial, and product approval And this product approval to enter every each market, including Malaysia, to get the sales, we need to settle a lot of tests. So where are we right now? Okay, currently we have 87 million USD contract with the 7 countries. So what we are still right now is we are in the process of settle registration in those countries, actually in ASEAN countries, and also in Africa countries. So why we go for this both? Because like for ASEAN, we have like harmonized recognition of regulatory approval for pharmaceutical. And for the why we going for Africa, people was, why going for Africa? Is it goat and sheep there? I think New Zealand and Australia, there are a lot of goat and sheep. Actually, yes. Australia and New Zealand, yes, there are a lot of goat and sheep livestock. But as you know, actually the largest population of livestock actually from Asia country and also Africa. Why we go for Africa? Because the large population of livestock there, and also the regulatory approval, that's one that we want to kill many birds with one stone. To enter certain region, there is called harmonized recognition. Like to enter into Africa, we have to go AU PanVet, African Union Council that approve all the vaccine. Once we pass that, we got like a fast lane to enter each country in that Africa. So that's why we focus in 2 markets. Currently, we complete the registration. We complete the test in Malaysia. For Africa, we already complete the test African Union. Now in the process of each country, complete the registration process. So yeah, it's just a little bit more.
All right.
Thank you.
And for Dr. Suwen, maybe if you can just give us an overview from the commercialization journey, for example, if we were to look at it from the expected hockey stick, your incremental growth in the early stages and before you get into the inflection point and get into the exponential growth, whereabouts are you and what you, in terms of where it is after 10 years of OnCode?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arsley. I would say for us, right, for healthcare especially, credibility and trust is basically everything. Trust is basically like your brand, right? So we have spent the past 10 years building our credibility. So we participated in whatsoever international EQA exams that are possible out there. So we just participated in all these exams. And then throughout, eventually, right, all this EQA body, right, they actually recognize, because we always perform very well, we always excel, we score perfect marks. So eventually, right, they recognize us. And for every year, when they have a global ring trials, they will actually extend their invitation to us as best performing labs to benchmark every other labs around the world. So slowly by slowly, we actually gain a reputation out of this. First, we have to convince our clinicians, and then we convince pharmaceutical companies that we are credible enough to actually gain their trust in companion diagnostics and clinical trials. So I would say that now we are actually growing exponentially in the sense that when MTDC comes in, we actually have the funds to actually grow regionally. I would say it's the beginning of exponential growth for the next 5 years and definitely for the next decades and 20 years to come.
All right, excellent, congratulations. So we've heard from the innovation companies leading the charge for commercialization for Malaysia. One's doing animal vaccines, and the other one is in companion diagnostics for human health. I'm going to switch the conversation over to the agencies now. These are perhaps the beginnings of how you'd like to develop an ecosystem and a pipeline of Malaysian companies that's just going to go out there, change the world, and transform Malaysia as an innovation hub. Question for Dr. Faizal. Oh, there's a few doctors on the panel, by the way, today. What is the priority for an agency, in terms of picking winners versus, say, building an ecosystem? When you look at how the ecosystem was previously, perhaps, the priorities maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago was really in terms of picking winners, or maybe building an ecosystem without necessarily focusing too much on the returns and the outcomes. Where are we now from a priorities on agencies such as bioeconomy?
Thank you, sir, for the question. So, just to share with the audience, I've been in the government ecosystem for, I think, about 15 years already. So I was in the, for the otai-otais who are here, I will call it the cowboy days before, kan? When we had lots of money and we just used to give money out because that's what we thought. All startups and SMEs in Malaysia, all they want is money. But we realize now with our learnings also, yes, funding is still very important, but it's not the only thing that a company requires. They require a lot of hand-holding, they require a lot of guidance, they require a lot of help. So in regards to just picking winners before, we still do pick winners, but however, we have to create the equal ecosystem to support these winners, because no point if you pick a winner, you support the winner, but then you don't create a conducive ecosystem for this company to survive and to grow, especially. How do we do this? How do we do this? This is a bit of a naughty term that I used a few times already. I would like to say that, you have the ministries and then there are policies, right? So National Biotech Policy, Agro-Food Policy, Vaccine Roadmap, and so forth. That's at the heaven, right? And then you have our companies that are on the ground. So how do you connect the companies that are on the ground to heaven? You have the stairway to heaven, which is us agencies. So that's why I like to say we are the stairway to heaven. So we connect, and then we try and realize what's in the policy. So for example, when I used the example just now, 30% of our bio-based companies go global. Okay, that's what's in DBN 2.0. How do you translate that into something that's meaningful for our companies? So, we cannot just tell them, okay, guys, by the way, this is what's been written in DBN 2.0, so go out and do it. We cannot, which brings me to another point, another term that I always like to use, which is turun padang. Get onto the ground. You have to get to the ground, understand what their problems are. So like Puan Nur Sharina, Dr. Lim also was saying, you have your regulatory trials and tribulations that you need to go through. Breaking into different markets requires different approvals and so on and so forth. So what we do as an agency is we go on the G2G level. So in parallel, on this side, we're helping our companies, providing them with support, product improvement, connecting them with the university, even helping them with JVs, funding. On the other side of things, we are going with a G2G level. So we talk to our contemporaries in ASEAN, in other countries, and say, hey, you know what? There are some of our companies who want to come here, they want to set up, they want to find collaborators. How do we do this? So it's a bilateral kind of thing. Not the easiest thing to do, but we are still doing it. We have got quite a bit of progress, alhamdulillah, in ASEAN. And then we are trying to, so basically what we're trying to do is to kind of create like a green lane for our companies to go to, like Thailand, for example. Okay, you want to go to Thailand and set up? Okay, you can go through this green lane that we've created. We're calling it a green lane. How do we do it is that we've got two programs. One is the BioPartnering initiative, which is we go to these countries, we try to find out what are the issues being faced by their industry, and then we bring our bio-based solution via our companies. Second is this program called the Global Expansion Driver, which is we identify a few good companies that have a lot of potential to expand overseas, and then we train them so that they are able to pitch to foreign VCs, investors, PEs, and so forth. So they get funding, and then they can hopefully expand their business overseas. So these are just two of the many initiatives that we do.
All right, thank you. So interesting, because it's no longer looking at Malaysia as the sole market for these companies to actually be focusing on. And I think it's apt as well, because if you look at whatever the implications and consequences of the, Trump tariffs that has happened since February, is that there is a lot of interest in terms of creating new markets outside of the US, and you see heightened increased interest from, say, the traditional allies for the US in terms of Europe and Canada and all that, and they're all looking for new markets, of which Southeast Asia, ASEAN, East Asia is always ready to sort of absorb that sort of opportunities. Question for Dr. Indra. I think Dr. Faizal has mentioned about the programs that has been planned out. I guess the question is more in terms of how would you identify who the recipients of whatever programs, and this is more for MTDC, the programs that you might have, and what are the criteria that you look for to channel those support? Because I guess coming from the agency point of view, resource is not infinite, so that there's always going to be a trade-off. So what would you look at and what would you prioritize on?
In terms of concept, let's go again on the first question. Do we cherry pick and focus on a few companies, or we focus on the ecosystem itself? So talking about concept here, if you work on an ecosystem, consider an ecosystem is a sponge, and you squeeze the sponge, and you would actually get a few things that comes out. Hopefully good things, right? So the few good things that comes out are the companies that we will eventually cherry pick, which means focusing on the ecosystem is what we must focus on. And when we squeeze, nurture, grow, and accelerate, you will find a few of those that you can actually cherry pick and bring forward. So these are the companies that we also focus on in terms of investment. We provide investment facility, we invest in technology companies, and because the metrics is very simple. The metrics is potential against readiness. So a technology that has potential with lack of readiness, you have to work on their readiness, grow them up. Companies with low potential will definitely have low readiness anyway. So looking at the 2x2 matrix, you take at the top right corner where you could actually see with the highest potential, with the highest readiness, this is your short-term gain or the low-hanging fruit, and this is where we focus on to ensure that we get something out of it. But at the end of the day, it's how you build your pipeline and grow the whole ecosystem and to ensure that every companies are able to maximize their potential. That is very crucial.
All right, thank you. Next question will be to the companies itself, and I think it's quite clear that we are looking at markets not just in Malaysia. That carries with it certain implications. Like if you were to go abroad, what drives your market selection? How would you get into a competitive position in a market where you would need to create the partnerships and the networks? Where you have the Malaysian agencies who will be supportive of developing the market within Malaysia, but you need the sort of support and the networks in the market that you're looking at overseas as well. So I guess this is a question more for Dr. Suhan, who's probably had that little bit more of journey in commercialization. You're looking at different countries now, or you have gone into different countries now. What drove the selection of those markets?
All right. For us, honestly, sometimes opportunities just came knocking at our doors. But we do also have a deliberate strategy on which market to enter first. Well, maybe a lot of people will ask us, and in fact, a lot of people actually ask us before, like, why Singapore and Hong Kong first, right? These markets are mature, they are well established, especially in healthcare. They are already like a so-called Red Sea in a sense, right? But for us, right, this is precisely the reason why, right? For a market that sophisticated and well-versed, right? So they know exactly what is the definition of a good molecular diagnostic test. So if we are able to stand out, if we are able to convince these people to use our product, then we will be able to stand in any other market. Right, so for example, like, in fact, our distributor in Hong Kong, they're actually China's largest clinical lab network. So that partnership alone actually already speaks volume to the quality of our product. So instead of focusing on the green and less developed market first, we have chosen to proceed with the more discerning ones first. So because this is what we thought, and this is our decision, that we thought that if we are able to tackle the toughest market, then the remaining of the markets would be easier, I hope.
Okay. Well, that's a very high-risk maneuver there. Xerina, just if you can share your own experience in terms of selecting, again, I guess the market, as you mentioned earlier, is that the market is really in terms of Asian and African ruminants and livestock. So naturally, it's perhaps that little bit of, the market has predetermined where you're going to go to. The question then becomes, that solves the where, the question that becomes of the how, and how would you build that connectivity of getting into those markets, and what sort of support do you need, and how do you go about doing that?
Yeah. All right. Okay, I go for the how first, and then the support. Yeah. For how, okay, actually it's a long journey to establish until this level. To be honest, in pharmaceutical industry, actually is all the process must be by sequence. Must be registered first in Malaysia, then you can start register overseas. But in BAV, we go for different way. We work concurrent and parallel. But how to do like that is involve a lot of money and also involve a lot of resources, especially on the connection. What we did actually since 2017 until 19, what we did is we do market validations. Yes, during the research, you have all those field trials, you have all those clinical trials, everything perfect. Publish all international journal, tier 1, tier 2, got from Prof, my doctor, and then got promoted Prof within 5 years. Yeah, actually for those who are successfully published in tier 1, tier 2 journals. Okay, but as a commercialization company, what we have to do, if we have to prove, is it actual results if we do it on the industry. So what we did, actually, we spent almost 3 years for 2017 until 19. During that time, Alhamdulillah, Department of Veterinary gave us a special approval during that time to just do the clinical trial or field trial. So what happened when we got that field trial? In fact, the result is better what from the research has been done, that the data that we go all over the world and promote. We start from China first during that time. Okay, in 2019, we went to China and Inner Mongolia and bring some sample to do the sampling over there. And the good thing with our product, we can see the result immediately within 1 to 2 weeks. So they come back to us, they send letter of intent during that time, we want to buy the patent, not want to buy the product. Okay, and then during that time, okay, this product is really killer. They want to buy our patent, our technology, not the products. So from that, we start to, we cannot let go our patent. We have to sell it. So that's why we struggle, and then we work closely with MTD this time, and then we try to get the bioenergy status. I think bioenergy status is very helpful. We got since 2016. It's helped us to establish the brand name. If not, if I went there to oversee, who are you? BioAngle? Okay, people don't know it. But when I said, we are bioenergy company, we established in MTDC. So they see that, this company is well-known, supported from the government, and also got patent. Second, after that, we start to got our first sale and purchase agreement in 2019. After that, what we did, we worked closely together with embassy. We joined a lot of events. Like what we are successfully now, we successfully settled the registration in African Union, and also we are in the midst of start testing in Uganda for the product approval. With the concurrent what we have done in Malaysia, the journey we start since 2022. To build up the trust, rapport, and everything, we go there and meet the minister, meet the agency to prove this product is good so that they can accept it. So that's the journey. Is work closely together with the government agency and join a lot of events, and of course the data that we have, like Dr. Swen make sure all marks 100%. So it shows the credibility is there, the top one, the top notch. So I believe I have received a lot of support also from the MTDC itself and also embassy. But now, of course, to enter more market, to emerge into the next phase, which is growth, I am also looking forward more support from Matrade and MIDA to open up the market for more and other actually the countries that highly regulated, like China, Europe, New Zealand, Australia. That one I cannot go alone with embassy. That one I have to come along with MIDA, Matrade, go, okay, come. This is product that we bring in, yeah.
So just out of curiosity, the elevator pitch for the moat or for the competitive advantage in a sentence for your animal vaccine, what is it?
We are the first by using spray. Our vaccine can put at ambient temperature,
Right.
so no cold storage.
Okay.
Need cold supply chain, no need in cold supply chain, and is no need expertise to administer.
Okay.
Just
So
normal farmers can do it.
easier delivery of intranasal vaccine for the ruminants,
And the
as
most
well as the pricing as
yeah,
I suppose.
and price also is more competitive and more affordable.
Right.
In fact, we can prove our formula can give better results compared to injections.
All right.
Yeah.
Because of the delivery system.
The delivery system of spray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Suen, I'm going back to you before I come back to the agencies later. You've gone through this, so, done this, seen it, done it, and, so you've gone overseas. You would have had to grapple with the trade-off and the decision that you need to make in terms of, do I refine my product or do I scale it? Do I go, and especially because you'll be entering into more competitive markets. What went through your mind? What was the decision metrics? It sounds like sort of do or die when you've got a product that you want to go into Singapore and Hong Kong, before entering. So what was the decision metrics that you had?
Well, actually, for us, it comes naturally because, we are participating in global trials, so we know the performance of labs everywhere else in the country for those who actually participated, right? So you can say that we are bold in a sense, but we think that we have created something really powerful and something really good, and it's something that is world class. So why can't we move into a competitive markets? And we also have one thing in mind, which is that if we are successful in entering this market, right, it actually elevates our brand as well. So we can tell, when we enter other markets, we can say, oh, we are there. We have a very strong distributor in Hong Kong. We have a very strong distributor in Singapore, for example, right? It elevates our brand as well at the same time. Yeah. So in fact, actually, I would say that we have already entered it, and we actually proven that to be really useful. But when it comes to different markets, right, we do really have to tackle with what products that is going to fit this market. So, for example, like we are tackling Taiwan now. But when you look at Taiwan, right, it's a very different landscape because every other hospitals in Taiwan, whether it is the public hospitals or the private hospitals, they already have a lab, a molecular lab within the hospitals, right? So in this sense, right, if we offer our service, our different types of services, then it wouldn't be so feasible, right? So we have to change our strategy. For example, like Taiwan, we changed our strategy by selling our diagnostic kits instead. Instead of services, we're selling our diagnostic kits. We make them validate our kit, and we make them issue the IRS letter to their MOH, to their Ministry of Health, to say that, yes, this is the kit that passed our own validation, and we will use this kit. So different market, different approaches.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'm just going to sort of move towards summarizing and concluding, and giving some of these last few questions to the agencies. maybe with Dr. Faizal first. So, what are the takeaways in terms of these success stories? Obviously, the companies that we have on the panel today came from research that is in Malaysia, so essentially commercializing research based in Malaysia is doable, definitely, and it's not just one of those like, shall we, it's done, it's there. Now, how would we, sort of make that consistently, apply that across the entire ecosystem, create that confidence, and obviously this is a conference that looks into commercialization and trying to push forward innovation. Where do you think are the key points that we need to bring forward to ensure that there's more of this sort of companies?
Okay, so for Bioeconomy Corporation, we do realize that this is one of the, so as I mentioned earlier, we're constantly evolving, right? So we keep creating new programs, initiatives and so forth. So we started off with the BioNexus status that Puan Shazrina mentioned, but that's for like biotech companies, big, strong biotech companies. Then in 2021, we created the Bio-Based Accelerator program. This is for MSMEs. We've got a whole bunch of them. You saw some of them at the opening ceremony, launching their products and so forth. Then this year, we realized that, wait, there's another demographic that we're not looking at, which is commercially viable research in the universities, especially. Now, we don't expect researchers to know straight away on how to be an entrepreneur and so on and so forth, because look, researchers do research, that's what they're good at. So how do we assist these people? So what we do is we've created a program called a Bio-Innovation Launchpad. In fact, if any of you all were in the hall next to us, those were the first 10 of our companies that were presenting, pitching, and so on and so forth. Now, in this program, what we try to do is we say, okay, look, you have a commercially viable product, but you don't know how to form a company, we will guide you. So we work together with MTDC. That's another thing that we try to avoid how it was before, like each agency works in its own silo. We can't do that now, so we have to collaborate. So we collaborate with MTDC. Created this program. So what it does is it's a 3-month mentorship program. We will teach you all the ins and outs about creating a company, help you to find the knowledge workers even, how to pitch, how to get your product ready for the market. Then once you graduate, you can join our Bio-Based Accelerator program, and then we keep growing you from there. And again, it's just because you're a BBA or a BioNexus company does not mean that you cannot be a part of MTDC's ecosystem or Cradle's ecosystem even. If we feel that, hey, as a company, you will benefit from something that MTDC is offering, Cradle is offering, Meranti is offering, we would actually tell you or go over there and speak to them, or we would make the introductions ourselves. So this is how we try and create an entire ecosystem to grow commercially viable research and take it all the way up to become very commercial, out there in the market.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Indra, last question, I guess, from me. So how do you support that transition from innovation to revenue? And at the end of it is, of course, the economic payoff, right, at the end of it, right? Because essentially, companies will need to find that final transaction that makes everyone happy, including yourselves, sure, right? And I think MTDC is in a nice spot to actually be giving that view based on the different verticals that they are in. Bioeconomy, as mentioned by Dr. Faizal, is focused on the bio side, but again, it's not so strictly defined. But MTDC has been there for so long, and please tell us about the success stories that you've had with some of the semiconductor investments that they've made before. But having all these accumulated experiences, that payoffs at the end of the day, and where do you think the commercialization experience we are at now could actually be turned into that sort of success stories more consistently in the future?
Sure. Thank you. I would like to go on from innovator or researcher to commercializing your own product, right? So let's talk about the skills and the knowledge and in Islam we call fitrah, right? So what you are and what you are inclined to. A typical researcher would normally be an introvert looking into technical enhancement, creating values, creating new knowledge. So this profile is a really good profile for a technical superiority. However, when they transition into a commercial entity, this is where you need to be an extrovert, trying to talk to people, knock on people's doors, and trying to sell the idea or the product or the services that you want to have. So these are the biggest problem that we actually see when we run our programs like PhDpreneur. We have our symbiosis program before. So because the fit of the people based on what they are supposed to do are not matching. So in MTDC, we do identify the people who are actually from the technical and needs to couple with an external or a CEO, BD type of person, which eventually would actually be a very successful technology entity. Because typically based on research, the number of people in an organization with the highest success rate when you start off is between 2 to 3. One would be the technical, and the other one must be the one who actually goes out. So that is very crucial. And from there, then you start going into a larger organization and you start being from a startup, from a pre-seed, you become seed, and then you become small, micro and small. So this transition is where one of the valley of death that we see is because the moment you are an owner or you are a CEO of an organization, you are a generalist. A generalist, or in other words, you are not a CEO, you are a COE, chief of everything. You do everything, right? So 2 entrepreneurs here can actually testify to that, right? So you're a generalist. So you take the portfolio of a finance, marketing, technology, everything, right? So after that, when you grow into micro, you start hiring 2 or 3 generalists who can do multiple things in your organization. And after that, you start hiring specialists under the generalists. And when you actually grow, the toughest part of being the COE or the CEO in this method is to fire yourself from the verticals or the scope of the project or of the company over and over. You're firing yourself from doing sales. You're firing yourself from doing technology improvement. So all this that you do actually grow you into a successful company, and this is the biggest loophole. And the question is, how do you go global? And this is the last part that I want to say. Going global is not about scaling up. It's about rescaling in. So companies in mid-tier, small and mid-tiers especially, when they go global, what they try to do is expand the vertical, the horizontal aspect of it, opening offices in India, Indonesia, and so forth, opening an office, push the product that they already have into the market, where what they should have been doing or what they should have done is reskill in, which means that they need to get their certifications in order, their systems are able to communicate with the language of the foreign countries, the product is ready for the country's environment, and from there, only then you start venturing out. Because the moment you go out and you tarnish your environment, you tarnish your reputation, people won't come back. And this is where one of the biggest issues for the past 33 years that we have helped entrepreneurs grow globally, we find that they are not able to sustain within the first 2 years, where 15% would actually drop out of nowhere. And just one small point that I want to make is, at the end of the day, it's not that we are exporting, it's not the 100th container that was exported that is important from Malaysia. What is important is the 100th customer that bought the product and just so happened that the product is from Malaysia. So it's not important that we are exporting, that point is not important. The fact that we are creating a product or service that is globally renowned and recognized and brings them comfort, and it's just so happened that it comes from Malaysia. So that thinking would shift the whole dimension of global expansion and shift the whole expansion of and perception towards globalization.
And shifting the conversation from commercialization in terms to the economic payoff, is there any multi-bagger sort of transaction that MTDC has seen recently that you're able to disclose, or that can serve as sort of an inspiration to everyone, or is that something that you can't disclose? Multiple returns, multiples of investment returns. Anything that you've seen recently that you can disclose?
Probably not at this point.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes.
Anyway, let me just say that, he can't disclose it, doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It has happened. Yeah. Anyway, it has been a very, very interesting discussion. I'm glad that no one has actually just looked away, for lunch. It is 1:15, and we have had, a very, very good discussion. If the audience can probably give a round of applause to our fantastic panel members. And I think at this point, thank you again. It has been a very fulfilling sort of discussion over here, and I'll just let everyone go. Thank you, everyone, for your interest and for staying on.
All right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. One more time to our amazing moderator and panelists, Encik Norazli, Dr. Faizal, technologist Dr. Indra, Nor Shazrina, and of course, Dr. Lim Su Wen. To show our appreciation, we have our token of appreciation. And we also would like to take a very quick photo with our panelists and the moderator. All right, let's have a very big smile to commemorate this occasion. And of course, can we have a thumbs up as well? Thank you. Again, thank you to our moderator and panelists for those uplifting stories of success. It is heartening to see how Malaysian innovators and SMEs are not only thriving locally, but also making their mark abroad, carrying the spirit of Malaysia's innovation with them. A round of applause again to our moderator and panelists. We're going to take a very short break. Of course, we're going to make way for lunch break. Please do join us again later on at 2:30 p.m. Thank you, and we'll see you in a bit.